welcome to another edition of the Diversified Semantic Layer podcast. We're not dead. We're still here. We're joined by a motley crew cast of strangers, it feels like. I haven't seen you guys in forever. Jamie, Derek, and our friend Timo from Paris today. I'm assuming Paris today anyway.
That's right.
What's new and exciting? We haven't talked in forever. I don't even remember how to do this anymore.
Clearly, Google Hangouts is really taking us off the rails today.
I feel like that was a technology problem, not a me problem.
Of course you do.
There's pills for that.
So, thanks everybody for getting together. I think we mostly wanted to get together today to do a couple things. Get back together because it's been far too long since we've spoken. But also we wanted to catch up with Timo ahead of the BI&A conference coming up in Huntington Beach in February, which we're very excited about since he didn't get to go to Nashville and play with us back in August. And then we also wanted to do our Christmas wish list or holiday wish list for what we hope to get in the next year from our analytics and business intelligence vendors and cohorts. So
you've got some pull, right, Timo?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, anything you want, as long as it doesn't cost any money.
Yeah.
That sounds like my kind of deal.
What are we running a charity here?
Cloud is free, right?
So we were thinking of talking about who'd be naughty and nice, who deserved their analytic presence for the next year.
Ooh.
Oh. Okay, you tell us.
So Derek, you got the hat.
Well, we said it was a holiday wish list, so I figured I'd go with the ugly Christmas sweater and the Santa hat for some festivities going on. Who's the naughty and nice? I put naughty as anybody who doesn't allow us to do cross-platforming anymore. There's your naughty list. Why can't everything play together? There's my naughty list. And notice I didn't say any vendor in particular. My naughty list is for everybody.
Well, we just jumped right off the rails and we just started.
Yeah, well, I'm starting off as a positive, peace on earth. I want peace on earth, true analytics.
Why can't we all just get along?
Absolutely. Exactly. I'm going to save it for the end, for the wrap-up. This is, kumbaya, sing peace on earth. No, we're going to start with peace on earth. We want peace on earth, right? And then we can go to the naughty and nice list saying, all right, well, we're not going to get peace on earth. Who's going to get coal and who's going to get treats, right? Think of it that way.
And we're coming up to winter solstice in a couple of days. So, the darkest, longest night is just about to be here, but still in the days will be getting longer.
Yeah. I love how you think, Timo. And I'm sorry, this hat is hot. Oh, my God.
So I think something that definitely needs to go on the naughty list is just how much stuff we are promising, right? So I get emails regularly internally about departmental solutions, right? So the Tableaus, the Clicks, the et ceteras. And it's invariably, I was on a webinar and I saw what Hospital X did with ClickView, and so I want to buy it, and then all of my problems will go away, right?
Because that's what technology does.
Right. The problem is that it's never a tool problem, right? Like, all of the tools are great now. All of the software is wonderful, largely. But, it's the magic isn't in the tool. The magic is in knowing your data, figuring it out, making sure that everybody is recording things the same way, governance piece, et cetera. But, they want to buy the tool to fix the problem, and it never gets there. So everyone who has ever done that is on my naughty list.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's an old problem. People have been looking for the latest shiny tool that would fix everything for, 20-something years, 25? Mm-hmm. Tool still hasn't fixed it. There's a little more magic coming with machine learning and things like that, but yeah, you still need hard work, sadly.
Well, and even with machine learning, that's not going to fix my governance problem, right? That isn't going to make my people in the East region calculate their measures the same way as in the West region, right? I mean, it might, but it
might automate some of the things that you otherwise spend time on, so you have more time for the strategic stuff. But yeah, no, it's not going to fix your strategic stuff for you. Anybody else got any naughty lists?
Oh, come on, Eric. You've been awful quiet.
I'm drawing a surprising blank.
I've got one for you. How about all these people that don't do analytics on analytics, that have no idea what people are doing with their solutions from a business point of view?
Oh, that and SAP Leonardo experts. Those are my other favorites. We're SAP Leonardo experts, and just sign here. We're going to give you SAP Leonardo.
Okay. I thought you were talking about me. All I've been doing for the last 6 months is trying to explain SAP Leonardo.
Yeah. No. I was poking fun. I remember distinctly, not to name names, at TechEd, someone claiming to be a Leonardo expert already, and all I could do is face palm.
Yeah.
Like that. That's some fast FUD if I've ever seen any.
Yeah,
well, I'm sure you're certified by a random certification department on it.
Yeah, I saw a resume the other day with 3 years of Lumira discovery experience. So I thought was bold move.
It's sort of on the ambiguity front. It's just bold. Cut him a break.
Yeah, that's just about feasible, right? If you go back to before it was called Lumira, that's been 3-something years. You could just about.
Oh yeah, no, it's been out for like 5 years, I think. It's been.
There you go.
We're getting way older than we give ourselves credit for. And it was so good. And then y'all pulled the rug out from under us and made us start over. So, but that's all right. I'm not bitter about my new technical debt. I'm getting rid of it.
I think what he's saying is SAP's on the naughty list.
Well, no, because
all vendors are always on the naughty list.
Yeah.
Oh, look at the defense mechanism going on.
All right.
I will say I do think Lumira 2 is way better than Lumira 1, right? I mean, it's still got some stability issues that are quickly working out, but the interoperability is great. Like the new look and feel of it is wonderful. It's just, we were just starting to get content together, and had to put the brakes on it because I don't want to create a bunch of new stuff, just have to rework it in 3 months. But,
yep.
But went live over the weekend, so that's good.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
What shiny new toys are you looking for then?
What shiny new toys am I looking for? I want to do a lot more with predictive, quite frankly, right? So.
Well, you already did some cool stuff. Have you done any more cool stuff since diabetes and stuff?
Yeah, no, we've definitely done some good stuff, and we're continuing. What I haven't done is operationalize much of it, right? So we found some interesting insights, and we've acted on them, but I haven't figured out the right use case for, this is going to predict what's going to happen, and I'm going to have that, available at everybody's fingertips and have them making spontaneous decisions witaut me having to go and commission a study from a data scientist to go validate the results and all that stuff. So that's where I'm at, predictively. How about you, Smokey? Did you predict that Aetna and CVS were going to merge?
My official comment on that, according to every single page at the top of our internet, is I have no comment on that.
Okay.
But no prediction, and all I can say is that I get my news from the same sources you guys do, as in Google News. But it's funny that predictive isn't necessarily on my front as a highlight. For me, I feel like I'm circling back again to olden days. For me, I'm circling back to the need for some more data governance and audit control. We've had a little bit of a Wild West going on, and as we bring in new tools, people are doing the good things that they do with the tools, but the data is still kind of coming from who knows where. So my wish list is a semantic layer to rule them all. I would love to be able to put as much as my contact behind a semantic layer as possible and regardless of the tool. Like, so if I've got Microsoft Power BI users, or I've got Tableau users, or I've got Lumerical users, it doesn't matter. They're still getting their at least their source data through that semantic layer. That's got audit trail, and it's governable, and it's got, I can do BI on BI, see how they're using that stuff. That would be my wish list.
Didn't we used to call that? So we used to call that the structure of the data warehouse, but now the data warehouse is a concept and not a thing.
Right.
So you want a nice, you want a nice data orchestration layer.
Yes, which is, I find, I like that term, but I haven't decided if I liked it more than the data lake. So does the orchestra layer come out of the lake? So it's just about
the lake.
It's the terms just shift depending on the if someone's smart enough or not to actually be using that term versus just something else.
It seems like people referring to data lakes have been drying up. I mean, the notion that you were going to pour everything into one place just in its raw form and suddenly magic was going to happen and it was all going to be easy to use was never a great idea. But it seems like people have even backed away from the concept. I mean, data federation seems to be huge. We launched a data hub, but it seems like everybody's heading that direction. So you keep data warehousing, but you do it so that you keep the data where it is as much as possible, move it as little as possible. If you are going to move it, do it in a governed way where you've got something that ultimately looks a little bit like a semantic layer on top of it.
That's what we're really moving towards, right? So we've got lots of different sources of data and all that good stuff. And we did what everybody else did forever, right? Where you build this monolithic data warehouse, super optimized for storage. You can get everything in there, and it's great, except for then you give that to a business person, they have no idea to get to the information that's actually relevant to them, right? So
and plus your definition of everything was only a fraction of their definition of everything. They want third-party data, they want their spreadsheet, they want the little server under their desk in there.
Let's be honest, though. We have all of these things are designed for different personas, right? Like, every level of the type of user that wants to consume data and information has different aptitudes and skills. And to assume that you're going to throw Joe user that just wants his daily Excel document out into a data lake and make it sensible is sort of naive, right? So it's a different proposition when you say, I'm actually creating a data lake or a platform for unstructured data consumption, whatever you want to call it, to more than a tiny population of your users is a different kind of sell. But it has value, right? They're hungry. They want to crunch numbers. They want a big platform that can just go munge data and come back with a result.
Well, I mean, for one thing, everything we've tried to do with analytics has always been way too top-down from my point of view. We tried to do everything, create the data lake, and try and say, oh, well, we're going to be in charge, and we're going to make this perfect semantic layer. But I've always felt that there should have been more of a bottom-up approach. So we've seen that with people using tools to try and get their own stuff. But have more of a sort of Wikipedia approach to data catalogs or data refineries, I've seen them called, where you let people do a bunch of stuff, but you enforce a minimum of recording what they're doing, and they have to write up what data source they're using and how, so that you can actually have the governance. You have a view on what's happening, and so you kind of build up to governance rather than imposing it from the top. Have any of you worked on anything to do with that?
Sounds like chaos.
Well, it is chaos, but it's like the market economy kind of chaos, where everybody does what they like, but the rules of the market kind of evolve and emerge from people doing what they want to do.
Does that mean we don't need a single version of the truth anymore?
Well, everybody hates that, so no.
You cannot.
Oh, that was just SAP's words, not mine, man.
So we haven't done that as much where we let people hash on their data. We have started to do a much better job of documenting.
Yeah, so data catalogs and things like that, where people have to say, look, I mean, just they say, look, these data sources are available, we're using this. And then in terms of IT and governance, you can actually say, well, hold on, you're using that, but somebody else is using a very similar data set. Shouldn't you get together and work on it?
Oh, get a Christmas present from my VP, that's why I stopped talking.
I thought you were begging for mercy.
Please, they can stop. No, I think that, Timo, that makes a lot of sense, and I think that, I know that's something we're working towards on my end, slowly but surely. Not necessarily at the data front, that's something that's an ultimate goal, but right now we're trying to do it at least at the analytics front to get folks to at least metadata and catalog their reports, so we're not chasing down the same thing over and over again. I know, the SAP Analytics Hub is something that has definitely piqued my curiosity for 2018. Especially the fact that it is platform agnostic, that I can have them log their Excel, I can have them log their Access or their Tableaus or their Power BI. So we're trying to, it's one of my team's plan is in 2018 to try to figure out how we can at least document and catalog that top end. And I think that while our data folks are working on our, I don't want to call it master data layer, but our, unified data platform and all that fun stuff, the COE can work on unifying the front end part, so folks stop chasing their tail, and we're not exactly single versioning under the truth, which I do still love that term, but it's the fact that we don't get my team out of the business of answering the same question: where's that data? Where's that report? 65,000 times, but it allows folks to be self-service themselves to it. I need to find a report that does X, Y, and Z. Let me just build one. Well, no, you don't have to build one. If you go to the hub and look and see, here's a report that does X, Y, and Z, as long as we do our jobs to accurately tag everything. The Herculean effort, but I think it's going to pay off.
And especially if you can sort of tag the steps that people took. This is where, so you have Data Hub, a series of steps to get some data. Maybe I'm mixing some social data with some finance data or something from the data warehouse. But if that is a cataloged process, and then somebody else says, hey, I need that bit, but I need to combine it with some other data, if there was just a single place that they could go to and grab that component and just sort of assemble the puzzle without necessarily needing to know much about the data sources themselves, that gets us closest to our ideal of letting people do self-service beyond just the reporting, but the hard part, the gathering the reliable data without having to come to IT every time to figure it all out.
Yeah. I don't think I can agree with you any more than I do.
And then on the front end, I love so data analytics hub, I think is just the first step, but I love the vision of people being, like when you buy a book on Amazon, it says people who bought this book also liked X, Y, Z. And one of the big problems has always been for basic users, they just want to go in, get some data, and go out again. And they don't know what's available, and they don't even know who to ask for what's available. And there's been lots of companies working on simplified front ends to get data. Actually, so that's where Analytics Hub came out of. It was at SAP. We had lots of data from lots of systems, and we wanted one place for our employees to go and be able to access different reports and find out what existed. So IT spun something up, and that eventually turned into Analytics Hub. But the next step would then be to recommend reports to people, saying literally based on your profile, based on what you've looked before, here are the reports that would make that might make sense for you to look at. That's where AI could come in.
Other people who looked at this report also looked at these other reports, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's one thing that I would, if we can position a little bit more towards what we want to give the nice people on our list. One thing
we like this week.
I would love to see us move to where we're just giving people the information that they want, right? So if we think about a standard, analytic workflow these days, according to the personas, you've either got the person who's running the operational report, printing out 200 pages, flipping to page 37 and spotting the error to go back and do whatever, or you've got the sort of the dashboard view of it where it's pretty high level, but you've still got to kind of click through and see what's out there. I want just something that gives me the metrics and the information that I want based on some sort of algorithm or but that, it just shows up like a Twitter feed, right? And it says, okay, you're X% over budget, and that percentage has jumped 3 times in the past day, right? Or
right. Yeah, here's what's interesting that we've noticed for you. Here's an outlier. Here's something that.
But just tell me what I need to know, right?
So augmented analytics.
Right. Right, and then I can use that for my daily workflow, right? So instead of saying, I'm going to go check 18 places, it just tells me what I'm working on today. Would, I think, be very helpful. So.
Yeah, especially, they would learn over time what you clicked on and found interesting and what you didn't find interesting. Show me more like this, like Spotify. Right. I like these songs, I don't like these songs, or, show me these kinds of insights, not these kinds of insights.
Right.
That would be great. That should be completely doable with the technologies that we have now.
Well, good. You've got till next week.
Well, the only downside is we need data. You need lots of people doing that for it to get to the threshold you need to actually for the data clicks to make sense.
Can we call it hot reports in your area?
Sure.
Trending.
Timo, I might be able to help you with that data.
Have it a pop-up that flashes? That would be awesome.
Well, yeah, it would be hot or not. Would be
swipe right for this report.
Or not.
Swipe.
Yes, swipe left. Would you like to be matched with this corporate report?
See, we're solving the problems that haven't come up yet in this stuff. This is why we should be more often.
I bet executives would love that. Like this training phase where they just went, sit, yeah, no, and then at the end of it, they came up with a beautiful dashboard with just the stuff that they'd selected.
Yeah. No, I think that would be a tough one to sell to the spouse. I need Tinder for work. Sorry.
It's getting fun, comfortable here. So I really want to hear, Timo, what's your outlook for 2018? What is your crystal ball tell you?
So AI is going to be huge in everything. A lot of it is getting excited. We get excited about the boring stuff. So there's going to be an awful lot of like finance functions and things like that, invoice matching. There's like 100 different finance repetitive, complex decisions that you can replace with things like artificial intelligence. It's not really analytics as we think of it, but you're using the algorithms and the data to just do things faster and more efficiently. That's going to be in every application we sell. That's just going to be sort of wall to wall. Then I am excited about using artificial intelligence within analytics itself. So data matching. Today, all data matching we do is essentially manual, right? I've got a set of data here and a set of data here, and I know they match, but they've got different keys that defined in different ways. I think there's a big opportunity to use artificial intelligence, machine learning, to actually look at the data sets and match them up more intelligently, especially for casual users. It's crazy to have to say, some of our products you have to say, oh, this data comes from this source, this data comes from which columns would you like to join on? It's like we've got the intelligence, the size of the planet, we should be able to join it automatically. Number 2 is more advanced interfaces with AI, so being able to ask regular questions. We launched SAP Copilot, so it's an enterprise assistant for SAP. So anything you can do with SAP, the idea is you can do it with a chatbot. So, how many vacation days do I have left? Or I'd like to book a vacation next week. Are these the dates? Yes. But we can absolutely apply that to analytics. So being able to ask more natural language kind of questions and get sensible answers, I think is a huge opportunity. And then there's all of that advanced pattern matching that we just talked about, where instead of relying on people to look at bunches of data and find out what's interesting, we can use the AI to automatically bring up what might be interesting. So we do all of that, some of that already with SAP Analytics Cloud. And the idea is to do a lot more of it as time goes on. So that's one area I'm excited about. Another one, I've got a question for you. Another area, I've been doing a lot of work with SAP Leonardo, and as you know, there's a lot of design thinking in that. And one of the things we're doing with customers is talking to them about redesigning the end-to-end customer journey. So whatever service you provide. So if you're a hospital, thinking about the end-to-end journey of a patient across the entire system rather than just concentrating on improving the surgery and improving the welcome at the desk and so on. But I think about it, you can do the same thing for analytics itself. So I'm interested in this notion of the end-to-end analytics journey. It's always bugged me that we stop when we say, hey, we provide some information to people, hey, we're done. There you go make some decisions. And we know that people generally suck at making decisions, and they suck at asking the right questions. And so I'm just interested in the notion of being able to open up analytics to take account of really trying to make sure that people are using the data right, not just getting their hands on it.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point. So one thing, going back to analytics on analytics, one thing that we find is when we release a new dashboard or product or whatever you want to call it, right? It goes into the wild, right? We see a huge spike in use, and then 3 or 4 months in, depending on what it is, we see that number start to taper off, which is very concerning to our leaders because they think typically like, well, if it's falling off, it's less useful, and what I think is happening is that they spike up, because it's something new in China. They click on it, people use it and play in there. But then naturally, they've solved some of the problems, got a better feel for how to monitor it, so they don't need to be in there 10 times a day. They may go in there once a day and, see what the trend is, see what they have to go figure out, and then move on. So I think that's an important thing to keep in mind.
BI is a bicycle. If it's not moving, it's falling over. But shouldn't the trail-off be your trigger to go back to those people and say, hey, we're glad you've got something out of this. What's the next thing we need to do? And really push them to take it to the next level?
So no, actually, they're already back knocking on our door. So
Okay.
We don't hurt for repeat customers.
That's great.
Yeah. I think for some organizations, it's hard to accept that, I just funded this initiative for X millions of dollars and we just finished it. Oh, you're telling me we have to pick it up and start again and work on the next, that's not what I had. And, it's getting across that these efforts are cyclical and ongoing, and the needs of the business change, and as such, what we're doing in data analytics change reciprocally.
Well, part of the problem is because you don't necessarily know what people are doing differently because they've got the data now, then it's harder to justify the next cycle.
Indeed.
I mean, if you knew, you could say, but look, they did this, this, and this with it. Therefore, of course, you would want to finance the next cycle.
Absolutely.
Well, I think that's the important part. At least I find, especially in my organization, is that when we challenge the business to fund up front, that's where you get the pushback and the cyclical nature of, all right, what's in it for me? What's the next iteration? But if we convince the business to, instead of funding it specifically, fund it generally, as in put it as part of IT's baseline, we will build out the capability and you all build it yourself, we find that, at least I find that the return, the ROI is much higher because they can do it, obviously with IT's coaching or guided learning, we're not telling them, you met your deliverable you met your requirement, or you met, you got what your money's worth. It's your journey. You do it at your pace. You get your money's worth out of it at your own leisure, as opposed to, we did this, it's great, but you needed more, so let's start the cycle again. I do find we have more success when we position it that way, and that's what we're hoping to continue on 2018, as opposed to, here's your bucket of money.
So what do you do with the people that aren't knocking on your door, that are just happy to do things the old way? There must be some of them, or? Oh,
God, I've got thousands of them. So for those folks, we're keeping the lights on, but we're slowly dragging them along with us. We're not necessarily sunsetting their old way of doing things yet, but we're making a considered corporate move to modernize a modern workspace and a modern technological technologically advanced environment for our employees, for everybody. And includes analytics at the desktop and access to data where needed and all that fun stuff. So we're going to slowly drag them along with us. We will give them all the all the open-ended training they can handle and give it to them and let them start. They're happy with their Excel. We're not taking it away, but we're saying you could do more. And when their bosses see that there's more that can be done, they tend to do more.
There's always been a gap between what we can do with the technology and what people do with the technology. That's kind of normal. But it feels like that gap is getting bigger and bigger. There's been some big leaps in what you can do with data, at least in theory. And then we're just running around trying for organizations to catch up and processes and people to realize they can do things in new ways. And it just seems like the challenge is more important than ever to persuade people to really think about data in different ways.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of our challenges. But one of the things that we do to attack it is to put out what the options are, put out what you can do with it, and not try to necessarily do. We obviously do that at the end user level, but also at the manager level and the executive level, because if those folks see what new things can be done with the data and they push that down. So they'll hear from their manager or their director, down to the manager, down to the end user, like, I know it could do this, you should think about investigating this, or go ahead and investigate that. And we found, at least I keep saying I found that that's one of the more powerful things, because you can give employees a webinar a week on new features, and they'll attend it, but they won't use it unless they're told to do so. So
we did some research a way back on. We asked people to tell us about how they use data in their jobs, and the level of a sort of awareness of data and how much they use data was pretty low, independent of the job title. So CEOs were just as bad at it as frontline people. Until there was one area where they understood everything to do with the data, exactly how it was calculated, exactly what was wrong with it, and exactly what they should try and do to optimize it. Any idea what that area was? Anything that was part of their bonus calculation. Suddenly they got really interested in how the data was calculated and created. So the lesson learned is, yes, top-down really is important. Setting goals for people is kind of forcing people to analyze stuff. Most of us don't want to change. And most of us, interestingly, when we said to people, well, how come you don't really analyze the efficiency of what you do very much? And people said, well, it's kind of hard and I don't really think it's my job. They kind of expected other people to analyze what they should be doing better, which is a bit weird.
I don't know. I think, I don't know.
There's some people grab it and they're constantly trying to improve, and but let's face it, most of us are like, yeah, okay, I know how to do my job. I look at this report. Here's what I do.
Yeah. Well, nobody likes to be measured.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
sorry, it just reminded me of something that came up. It's been at the Gartner conferences and so on, is this notion of improving decisions. So decision making. So Jamie, is your organization better at making decisions this year than it was last year?
Yes.
Okay. But is that a process that you actually worked on? There you go. So I know you have actually, because I read those reports on exactly that, right? Because the process, you looked at how you were doing things. How about you, Derek? Is that anything like that going on for you?
Not at a real detailed level, but I can say that yes, based on the questions that I get at my level from folks who are doing it. So I can tell year over year that folks are asking more advanced questions, or asking more detailed questions than they were the prior year. So I think the information that we're giving, the tools that we're letting folks access to, are increasing their desire to learn and, how to say it, find a better word than attack, but and attack their day-to-day jobs. So and that number grows. It's not growing exponentially. but it's growing a little bit each year. And I can only hope that as we modernize our work processes and enable access to tools on a broader range, that actually going to snowball.
So anyway, one of Gartner's themes is along those lines, which is, do you have a decision process, thinking about decision making as a process to be optimized? So if you have a decision to make every year, did you make it better this year than last year? Recording the results of a decision, and then going back and seeing whether it was the right decision. If it worked out well, why did it work out well? If it didn't work out well, what went wrong? And it sounds perfectly sensible, but it goes back to, we actually have offered those kinds of functionalities in various products over the years. I don't know if you remember SAP Streamwork. Anybody remember that? So it's now still part of SAP Jam. You can collaborate around decisions. But nobody ever used it, as far as I could tell, because nobody wanted their decisions being recorded and analyzed. Because people don't like, if you were wrong, you'd rather not hear exactly why you were wrong, especially executives.
Or be the one that actually is labeled as that was the wrong decision to make.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's anything that will ever change.
Declare victory, move forward.
Thank you, General Patton.
It's time to bring this podcast to a close. I'm gonna
You
take the last.
shiny toys though.
I'm gonna put the last one in and just say SAP better not be building Skynets. I'm too young to die. I know your AI prediction is probably not wrong. But don't be them. Don't be the bad guys.
No, I want us to build the anti-Skynet. I want us to be the superhero costume with the cape, being defenders of high quality data and governance. I think it's a role that would suit us.
It's pretty idyllic. But all right. Well, Timo, thank you for joining us. It's always an extreme pleasure to get to talk to you. Derek, Jamie.
So we see you all in Huntington Beach. Happy holidays.
Perhaps. Cheers. All the best, guys.
Happy holidays, folks.
This podcast is hosted and sponsored by EV Technologies. Visit us on the net at savethecms.com.
Can't trust that. D-Slayer!